So, welcome to this workshop called Power of Affirmations.
Welcome.
And we're very excited to share this with you, and we've used affirmations a lot in our personal life with great success, and we've also received a lot of really wonderful, wise, sage, conscious, and enlightened information about how to use affirmations, and we feel that that's one of the reasons why we've had good success with the affirmations because of such the great information that we received that we want to share with you.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why we chose to create this workshop on affirmations, because we have heard from many different people that sometimes using affirmations didn't work for them. And so we wanted to create a workshop that had a comprehensive um, explanation and understanding of how affirmations can be used and how they can help you in your life.
And Alessandrina and I are both conscious personal development coaches and relationship coaches, and affirmations are one of the tools that we teach in that process because they are excellent for helping people shift their energy state.
So, Inside Timer always invites us to ask for donations from you for us and also for them to continue to offer the workshops for free. So, if you like the content of this workshop and the content of our work and our meditations, we'd be very grateful for any donations that you offer us.
So, affirmations have a lot of there's a lot of talk about affirmations, and some people love them and some people hate them, and that's understandable because to use affirmations usually we must in essence get into a state of being, into resonance with something we might not yet have. And some people might call it like fake it till you make it, or uh, just optimism or positivity. And truly, affirmations, the deep work of affirmations, the conscious work of affirmations, is much more than just positivity or fake it till you make it.
So that's what we will teach you today. We will teach you how they actually can help you shift your energy and get into higher states of consciousness that are essentially embodying what you truly want. Right? So we spend a lot of time essentially thinking about what we don't want, what we don't like in life. And for a lot of people, not all people, that said, for a lot of people, that's the realm within which they operate day in and day out. And so if we're mostly thinking about what we don't like and what we don't want, then obviously that is the energy state that we're going to be in. And if you know a little bit about the law of attraction, right, the affirmations are very much a tool from the law of attraction, then you know that if you're thinking and feeling things you don't want and you don't like, then most likely you're going to attract that to you. It's going to pull that into your realm of experience, and therefore it's not beneficial, it's not useful, it's not, it's a drain on your energy. And so we're going to give you a comprehensive process of using affirmation that can get you into another energy state where you're focused on what you do want, what you do enjoy, while also clearing and releasing the things that bring pain or discomfort or fear or negative and limiting beliefs about self or others or life.
And thank you for your nice, kind comments, all of you. Thank you for coming back and returning to another workshop of ours, and for the appreciation for our meditations. The It's an interesting talk about affirmations because rarely, when discussing subtle energy, do we get the opportunity to use science. because science usually is not that capable of detecting and understanding subtle energy, the energy of our auras, and the energy, the effect of holding an intention in our heart, and the effect of internal alignment. Because science has really hard time measuring subtle energy. And in this case, we get to share with you the double slit experiment. There's some great YouTube videos about it. And so check out the double slit experiment on YouTube. It's amazing. It shows that basically they were observing an electron, and then what they found was that it behaved as a wave when they weren't observing it. Then when they put a camera there and sort of started observing it, it collapsed from a wave into a particle just because of the element of observation in the experiment. So what it's suggesting is that as we observe our reality, as we think thoughts, as we make assumptions and beliefs, as we feel the way we feel, as we interpret things the way that we interpret them, then we are essentially observing reality in a certain way and causing reality, which is infinite potential and energy, to collapse into a certain form, into a form that sort of fits the quality of our observation and the information that we observe. Note that word, information. Information. So it's like formation, like a formation, to form something, to bring something into form. So it's in formation. So the process, the information that we choose to resonate with, the beliefs we choose to resonate with, the perspectives, the thoughts, all of this information that we choose to resonate with and essentially energize through our attention is the process of forming things physically and tangibly into the world.
So to continue to explore that, let's talk a little bit about the mind versus feeling. So when we're doing affirmations, if we really want to get results that are effective, that are going to allow us to create a shift in our energy, because that's really, like we said before, the affirmations are simply a tool. They're a tool in your toolbox of transforming yourself, of shifting your energy, of transforming your life. So if you look at it in that way, if you use your mind and only your mind when using affirmations, which is why a lot of people are averse to affirmations, because they are operating at the level of mind, and when they're operating from the level of mind, they don't find consistency, they don't find that the results are as tangible or effective as they would like them to be. So if you're in your mind repeating an affirmation, for instance, it's unlikely that it's going to bring about a permanent and truly transformative result. Because the mind is basically a mechanism that is interpreting and playing out different stories, and it's not necessarily fundamentally going to change how you feel and how you experience yourself and life and reality. So in order to be able to truly get transformed and shift the energy through the use of affirmation, it's important that you feel it, that you shift from your mind to really feeling it in your body, in your different energy centers, and we're going to go into that today.
Which requires tremendous courage, if I might just say.
True.
At this time, and which is why a lot of people hate affirmations.
Because essentially, if you're getting out of the mind, you're getting out of the realm of trying to control the environment, and you're stepping into the unknown. So you're saying, there's this reality that I'm choosing to affirm, and I'm choosing to create, and I want to experience. and I don't really know anything about it, right? When we're affirming something, usually it's something that we feel we either lack or we don't have in our life, so we're not really familiar with it. And so when we start affirming it using affirmations to become familiar with it, we're in the unknown, we're in uncertainty, and the mind doesn't like that.
The mind's going to say, wait a minute, you're going to pretend you love your life when all this stuff is wrong that we need to think about and solve and do stuff about?
So that's the resistance, that's the past, right? So the affirmations are not about the past, they're not about what happened in the past, they're not about who we imagine ourselves to be in the past.
They're not about what we think is right now.
They're about what we're choosing to be, to embody, to create, to imagine. And it like Dexter said, it takes a lot of courage actually to affirm something that is unknown, that is unfamiliar, that is uncertain, that we don't have any control over. And that it's also the miracle, the beauty of affirmation, that we're stepping into the unknown, we're stepping into a realm that we don't have any control over, and we're having faith in the process. So it requires a lot of faith, having faith in trusting within ourselves that when we affirm something, as we repeat the affirmations, then the energy can shift and something new can emerge. That we might not even know what it might be like. We might, when we start affirming, we might have an idea in our minds of what it might look like. And then as we affirm and repeat the affirmation, it might really open the door to something quite magical, meaning that it's not something that we could have ever imagined. And that is the beauty of affirmations and other tools that transmute energy. So it's a tool for transmutation of energy, affirmation.
And there's a reason why it's when we use affirmations and we shift the way we feel, not just the way we think, the way we feel, why we experience things that we could never imagine before. Because our mind and our thought process is truly limited by what we're resonating with, in a way, in our feelings. It's very, very hard to truly think a different way than we feel. And people often try to mentally, through their thought and analysis, hack their way into a new result, into a better result, often without trying to change really the way that they feel, their state of being. And those are usually people who are working very hard, spending a lot of energy and not getting the results they want, and usually quite frustrated. Because to try to do it analytically, it requires covering so many bases. Like if you want to achieve something and you try to get there just through analysis, just through thought, just through mind, without using feeling, then you got to kind of like logically figure every little detail out, which is impossible. There's too many. If you can shift in your heart, in your sensation, in your feeling, in your attitude, if you can allow yourself to feel what you want to be, then the thoughts will come naturally from that feeling, and you won't have to try to force it or fake it or overanalyze it, because you will be resonant with it. And then the proper and aligned actions and thoughts and the things you say and do and the decisions you make will all come from that feeling. The feeling becomes the guide.
So to add to what Dexter is talking about, this is very much what meditation is all about. So affirmation is actually a meditative process. Again, it's not a mental process. If it's done in a meditative state, and meditation means becoming familiar with. So we're becoming familiar with something that we don't know, and we're becoming familiar with it by exploring. So our invitation today is for you to, as you become familiar with whatever you're affirming, to explore what comes up, all the ways in which it manifests in, you know, all dimensions, in all aspects of selves, in all, you know, in your body, in your mind, in your chemistry, in, you know, however subtle you go with that, and whatever it is that comes up as you're affirming. If you let yourself explore that, then you are becoming familiar with it, and you're having your own experience of it. And this is very, to me, I find that is really the magic of meditation, is that no one can tell you, no one is going to define for you your experience. And the more you have faith in that, in your own process of self-exploration, and not following any rules, not having any expectations, not having a specific idea of what it's going to look like, and just allowing yourself to explore it. So to affirm, and we're going to give you some, let's say, pointers as to how you can refine that process of affirmation, and then it's up to you to then go and explore for yourself how you want to, you know, your process of becoming familiar with what it looks like, what it feels like, what it is, and to refine that over and over and over again. And the more you practice affirmations, the more you'll see that this process, when you have no expectation, it's constantly refining itself. You're constantly getting insights, and you're constantly receiving information as to how you can become more and more familiar with affirmations, the process of affirmation, and the energy. Because essentially, it's simply a tool, again, to transmute energy and to become familiar with an energy that might not have been in your life before.
That has been foreign to you.
So that's wonderful, and that's also challenging, because if it's not familiar to you, it can feel kind of like daunting, and it can feel like, well, I don't know, you know, you can doubt yourself in that process. So if you can embrace that, if you can allow yourself in, you know, in each moment that you're affirming, to understand and to learn and to continue to evolve, then it can be a really very, very enjoyable and grounding and very special process.
Would this be an okay time to read a few questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so Peace asked a question about 4 minutes ago. Please help understand affirmation, seeds from knowing. If you could please clarify your question, especially specifically the word seeds. Not sure what you mean. Then we had another question from Julia. Aren't our feelings a result of what we are thinking about? In essence, thoughts equals feelings. So that's the question. Very good question. And thank you for the previous kind comments that we saw there in the chat and the donation. Thank you. So actually, yes, definitely, we have a thought, right? And then we see it in our mind's eye, and then our subconscious mind then like reacts to it and produces chemicals and emotions which become feelings in our body to help us sort of navigate that environment. That does happen. And so yes, in that sense, it's true. In another sense, however, like what triggers that thought first? That first thought, why did it get triggered in the first place? And it is the process of, in our energetic understanding and perspective, of the thought is stemming from a feeling somewhere in the energy system. So that feeling bubbles up and appears in the mind as a thought or a projection or an imagining. Then, of course, that imagining appears even more real and true to the subconscious, which then sends the chemicals in the body, and then we feel it even more.
Yeah, so it's like a cycle. So there was energy and feeling first,
subconsciously.
Chicken or egg.
Subconsciously.
Yeah, exactly. And then that triggers thought, and then that triggers feeling, and that reinforces and revalidates. And you may have heard before that you can't think essentially thoughts that are not, that your energy system is not able to accept. So for instance, if someone says, if someone is in a state of lack and they start repeating the affirmation, I am wealthy. Well, for them that thought wouldn't have existed if they were in a state of lack. They could not feel wealthy, even if they had money. That's irrelevant. If they felt lack, if they felt like they didn't have enough or they might not have enough, they couldn't feel essentially wealthy or abundant. So the thought wouldn't even exist. It couldn't even come into their consciousness because the energy, the feeling wasn't going to support that. So for the thought to exist, for someone to be able to even affirm a certain reality, the energy system and the feeling essentially must align with those kinds of thoughts or kinds of affirmations. So if you understand that, then you understand that really when you work at the level of energy and feeling, then new thoughts can be created.
Creating new feelings.
Exactly, and new energy. So now that's how you're transmuting, which is why at the beginning there can be a lot of resistance to repeating affirmations. Because if you're saying I'm wealthy and you feel lack and you have either in this lifetime recordings of lack and not having and not having stability or not having received or not feeling worthy, then it would be very difficult for such a person to actually be able to embody the energy of I am wealthy. And that's okay, because that's the opportunity. The opportunity is to work through those past recordings and interpretations and limitations and to transcend them, so that then if the person does want to experience, for instance, wealth or abundance, the person can align their energy system and their feeling and then their thoughts with a state of abundance and a state of wealth. Did you get more information on the other question?
I did. Affirmations start from knowing. And there's many ways to answer that question. You could say that affirmations start with an intention. First, we choose to want something, then we can begin doing affirmations. We could also say that affirmations start from knowing the creative and malleable nature of reality. We could say that affirmations start from knowing our deservedness, and knowing that we deserve to receive, and that we can experience that which we choose. I hope this is answering your question.
Yeah, and I will add to that. If you're talking about, and I'm not sure, I'm still not clear exactly as to what the question is exactly. That said, knowing, right? So knowing, for instance, the energy and then affirming it is a process of reinforcing. So you could say that it's a gradual process, meaning that you might already know the energy and you're reinforcing it in your system. And for most people, becoming familiar with means not knowing. So you don't know the state and you're affirming with the intention of going deeper into the learning or even starting the learning. So for instance, if someone wants to experience health and wholeness in their being, let's say that they've been either sick or they've had a disease and they now want to experience wholeness, they want to heal. Well, at the beginning, they might not know this state of wholeness and this state of health. And so as they affirm, they are learning, they are becoming familiar with knowing the wholeness and the state of health. They're learning that through the process of exploring it, of affirming it and then feeling it out and integrating it into all levels of their system.
So affirmations are the bridge. They're the path to reaching full 100% knowing. And so if most people who are for example, who don't have as much abundance as they want or the relationship they want, they might not fully know their abundance and their deservedness of an excellent relationship. And so the process of repeating affirmations sort of cleanses their system of all not knowing, of all unconsciousness, so that then they can fully 100% know their abundance or know the truth of their love and deservedness of an excellent relationship and their self-worth. And then once that knowing is there, once that full 100% comprehensive resonance is there, that knowing, then they will likely be able to experience that which they want and receive that which they want. Okay, and we had a question about sleep affirmations. How can we use this in sleep? How is it processed internally when I'm not conscious while sleeping?
So this is actually a really good question, and let's say that takes us forward into the workshop, and still I feel like it's useful to talk about that, meaning the subconscious. When we want to change our energy and transmute old energy, liberate old energy from the past and get into a new state of energy, essentially using the subconscious mind in order to do that is very important. So during sleep, we do enter the state of unconscious and subconscious, and it can be very powerful, it can be very useful, because the subconscious mind is where we spend most of our time, meaning we spend 95% of our time in our subconscious mind. So if you affirm for 5% of the day, meaning you're conscious of what you want in your life and you affirm it, the 95% of the rest of the day, you're affirming the stuff that's in your subconscious. And that might not be in alignment with what you want and what you enjoy, meaning that you might be processing and repeating things from the past, painful experiences,
programs, habits,
and patterns and behaviors that you've learned, that you've been conditioned into, that you've recorded. And of course, that would mean that 95% of the time you're affirming something that is not the story of or the let's say the experience that you do want to create in your life. So when you do affirmations through a process of during sleep or right before falling asleep, I would say that actually it's if you want to use affirmations during sleep, it's important that you start as you're falling asleep, because during sleep there are times, depending on where your brain waves are during your sleep, where actually you go into the unconscious mind and they might not be as much of an influence, basically. Meaning you might not even really record or receive the information in a way that is integratable by your system. So when you do it at the time where you're going from conscious mind to the subconscious mind, right as you're falling asleep, then personally I have found that to be the most effective way of doing affirmations. And then you can listen to it as you're sleeping if you have, for instance, tracks that you're using during sleep, and if you begin before falling asleep, so that's when you're actually still engaged, and at the same time you're going into the subconscious, and you're more intentional and more able to actually use the tool in a way that is going to bring about tangible and durable results.
I'd like to add something to that. Mm-hmm. So in addition to the timing of it for sleep, if doing it before and also right when you wake up, that kind of sandwiching your sleep with the process of affirmation. So doing it before you go to sleep, when you wake up. In addition to that, of course, it's important to do the affirmation while you're awake too, during, when your analytical mind is up and running, and ideally to be so deep into feeling your affirmation that it's not about a thought or a belief or anything mental. That it's actually the feeling transcends all of that and becomes all there is. And as you do the affirmations during the day, in order to help you during the sleep, if you have a musical sound or a song that you do the affirmations with, then you can play that song while you sleep. And what this will do is it will trigger, it's an anchor, and it'll trigger your subconscious mind to actually remember the affirmation and do the affirmation while you're sleeping, while that song is playing. I hope that helps. And yes, if you try not to use devices, you don't need anything. You don't even need a journal to do affirmations. The affirmations are really in this area, in the heart, which has 1,000 times more a greater electromagnetic field than the mind, and it is our sort of electromagnetic fields that interact with energy and cause particles to collapse from wave form to particle form. So if before you go to sleep and when you wake up, if you choose to completely resonate with, in your heart, to feel, and most people actually have difficulty really resonating with the feeling of their affirmation. They look at their affirmation as if it is a group of letters, making a group of words, making a sentence, making a belief. And it is far more than that, far more multidimensional than that, and actually less tangible and more intangible. Because it is, in essence, a feeling. It is an energy. And so it's about, before going to bed, and perhaps when you wake up or whenever you're practicing it throughout the day, to really open up and allow yourself to feel that which you want to feel as a result of getting whatever it is that you want to get. Maybe it's healing. So then maybe you want to heal from an illness. So then you would feel what it's like to stand in your shoes and to have, your long life in front of you, and to be healthy and to be able to do what you want. And you would just feel that and appreciate that and love that. Or if you want a relationship, you would feel what it's like to have a partner that you get to do stuff with and to explore things with and to talk to, and you feel that and you love it, and you don't think about it. It's not about thinking about it. It's not about having positive thoughts. Oh, I have a partner now. I have a partner now. I have a partner now. It's not like that. It's like, I love spending these days with this person that I love so much, and that we talk about these wonderful things, and it doesn't even have to be about perfection, right? Even in your affirmation process, you can say, the relationship isn't perfect, and sometimes there's misunderstandings, and I even love them then, because it's so nice to share my life with this person who is so interested in me, and I'm so interested in them. Or here's one for abundance. It feels so great to be able to do what I want to do, and to spend the time the way that I want to spend it, and to be able to experience what I want to experience. Notice how we didn't say anything there about not having money, or because the affirmation is meant to be a very pure embodiment of that which you truly want. Because truly, we don't want health, we don't want a relationship, we don't want money. That's not what we really want. What we really want is the experience, the feeling that we think those things will give us.
Which is why affirmations are actually such a wonderful bridge to the experience, because you don't need anything to change externally to feel the way you want to feel. And so it's about learning that. affirmations are a way for you to see that your inner world, you create your inner world, and you have the capacity to shift and change your energy regardless of what's happening on the outside. And if your energy, your inner world doesn't change, your outer world, it doesn't matter what you receive in the outer world, you wouldn't even notice it. Maybe for a second you would notice a relationship, and then you would find way to feel the way you were feeling before you had the relationship. Same thing with money, same thing with health. Until we change the inner world, it doesn't matter what happens externally. So the affirmations teach you to only, quote unquote, rely on the inner world, on creating your inner world, learning your inner world, becoming familiar with your inner world, and refining your inner world. Maybe in your inner world there's a lot of wonderful things, and you love your life in some ways, and maybe in your inner world there are other things, there are other ways in which you don't love your life as much. So becoming familiar with that is the process of really refining and creating this inner world that you want to create.
And as soon as you start to try to create that inner world, you're going to find in some situations it's really hard to sustain that feeling. And in those situations, then you're not in alignment. It's a reflection that so by doing the affirmation, by feeling it, you can actually start to map subconscious parts of yourself that are actually not in alignment with what you want. And what would those be? Well, that would be any moment, any second, any millisecond throughout the day when you don't feel your affirmation. If you're feeling your affirmation, you're going about your day, and someone rear ends your car, and then you stop feeling that you love your life, or you stop feeling that you're so abundant, or you stop feeling that you have the most wonderful relationship. When they rear end your car, then that's an opportunity, right? Because that part of you did not feel deserving in some way, or capable of experiencing in some way that which you truly want in that moment. And what you'll find is that perhaps when you go to the bathroom, or when you cook, or when you clean, or when you spill something, or when someone doesn't speak to you the way you want, or when you wake up and get some sort of bad news, it'll be difficult for you to resonate with your affirmation. And that is the most important time. And most people who say affirmations don't work are people who aren't exploring that part of it, which is the internal resistance.
And the process of integration, meaning that we're fragmented as human beings. And if in those moments where we have non-integrated, non-aligned parts, we react to that as if that was a problem, then we're not really looking at it as an opportunity. Oh, I want to create this reality. This is important and meaningful to me for whatever reason. My soul wants that experience. And now I'm feeling something very different. Instead of looking at that as a problem, it's like, oh, I've recorded things that are not in alignment with what I'm saying I want. So if I want health, if I want wealth, if I want harmonious, loving relationships, and then there's other things that bubble up in my thought process, in my belief system, fears get triggered. If I look at that as a problem, then I'm basically saying that what I want to create cannot be, and I'm reinforcing and revalidating that I can't have what I want to create, instead of realizing, yes, I want to create that, and there are also other parts of me that feel very differently, that don't believe that it's possible, that don't believe that I can, that are afraid, that doubt, that want to control, that don't feel in control, that are experiencing some form of lack, separation, misunderstanding about reality. So why don't we talk about languaging, baby, and how to create the affirmation so that people can have
that's a great idea.
Like a grounding.
One moment before we go there. So we had a few more comments and questions. Thank you for your kind comments. So it's a question. So it's immersing yourself in the feeling of what it's like and saying the affirmations. Yes, the affirmation is actually not what it's about. The affirmation is just a path to the feeling. The affirmation is some words that you put together that help you go into the feeling. Most people stop at the affirmation as if it's the sentence and the line, and they just repeat it and make their mind memorize it. But the mind doesn't have the same creative potential as the heart, not nearly, as 1,000th of it. So the affirmation is the actual written affirmation, the sentence, is just a reminder for you to feel. You actually don't need the sentence if you can remember the feeling on your own. And it is okay to practice the affirmation in silence, without thought, to just feel the feeling and become so familiar with the feeling that you don't need the thought of the affirmation. And that is a very nice attainment to achieve. And it, in a way, it's a very nice guide to help you ensure that you're truly feeling it.
Yeah, so the word just takes you into your heart. So for instance, if you've been to a place that you love, let's say you've been to Paris, or you've been to Barcelona, or you've been to a city that you love, and you now, that word, when that word comes up, it's bringing up all of the positive associations, sometimes also the negative associations, the memories that you have in that regard, and it's going to take you, if it's positive, more into your heart, maybe in your second chakra also. If it's negative, maybe in your root chakra, you might have, other things that come up. Ultimately, it's just taking you, to the energy, and then it's up to you to refine that. So that actually is a good way to transition into, basically, affirmations. They come from your heart. We say things, so our throat chakra, when we affirm, we're in our throat chakra. That said, the energy for the affirmation to be effective and to really begin to transmute old energies and old recordings of lack and separation, and for us to really tune into the energy, it's about being in our hearts. And when we're in our hearts and we're connecting to either a reality that we want to create, or in the present moment, just allowing yourself to feel. And then from that state of presence, just affirming whatever comes up from your heart. So being in your heart, cultivating that relationship, and we have a lot of meditations on Insight Timer to activate the heart center. There's also a specific meditation that you can do. I believe it's called maybe Power of Affirmation or Harnessing the Power of Affirmations. That is actually designed to take you into your heart center, and then for the words and what you're affirming, the affirmation, to come from there without you even thinking about it. You don't have to think about it. And you can, if you have thought about it and you already have things that you choose to affirm, you can do that, feeling it in your heart and then expressing it through your throat chakra. And if you start to map that, meaning to explore that as you're doing it, be in your heart and then feel the energy as you generate the energy in your heart, feel it moving into your throat and wanting to be expressed into the world. That is the process of creation. From your heart, you're creating and you're speaking, you're affirming your truth, whatever that truth is in that moment, whatever it is that you're choosing to embody, to feel, to create, to explore, to be, to become. So from your heart.
May I add one more thing?
Mm-hmm.
So another great question from T. I'm more logical than feeling. How to practice internalizing it and believing it first versus intellectualizing it. So this is a big thing for a lot of people, especially because we raise in our societies, we condition people to be more logical than feeling, and there's a lot of suffering that tends to come from that, because people tend to become literally addicted to thought and have lots of thoughts. And I'm not saying you experience this, and then they lose touch with actually their feeling, and there's so much wisdom in feeling. There's so much love in feeling. Love is not a thought. and neither is happiness. And and people try to then achieve happiness and love in the mind without even realizing it, because they don't realize that they've lost sense and touch with their capacity to feel, which is another thing that is sort of actually taught in societies, is to suppress your emotions, don't deal with those, keep a lid on it. And we literally become desensitized to what we feel. So,
and live in the mind. We end up
begin
living
to try to
in
live
the mind.
in the mind. Yeah.
And so it's a process. So if we were mentally, if we use the mind to answer your question, we wouldn't really be helping you, because truthfully, the way to do it is to explore it. So like for instance, the meditation that I just recommended, if you haven't tried it, you may want to explore that meditation and to see, to start to connect to your heart, and then create affirmations from there.
Another meditation we have on Insight Timer that's pretty close to what you're asking about is called Feeling the Feeling, or Feeling What You Feel. And it's all about just feeling what you feel. And once you start to feel, the logical mind cannot feel. It's not a feeling entity. So once you start to feel what you feel, you start to get in touch with the parts of yourself that can feel, and then from there you can feel your affirmation and go from there. And the process of going from being a very mentalized, logical person to being more in touch with your feelings is kind of like being willing to, because the mind can't see what it can't see, it can't know what it can't know, it is a process of faith. It's like being willing to walk into the darkness with the faith that there is actually something there. It's about being willing to try to feel with the faith that over time, as you continuously try to feel what you feel, that there's going to be developments in that area. And the mind might fight it.
So as let's say, something that can help you with this, if you ground yourself before you practice affirmation and you learn to be in your body, and every time you get out into your mind, you start thinking, you come back to the body again and again and again. And so you're training yourself essentially not to escape in the mind, which is what, like Dexter was saying, we're conditioned into that. We're conditioned into thinking and escaping through the mind. And so if you ground yourself in your body and you feel, and maybe that's not something that you've explored before, just really being 100% in your body rather than maybe 10%. Sometimes some people they're kind of vacant. They're not really there. They're just like living in the mind through a process of projection and imagining, not really, in the reality of feeling themselves in their body. So if you start with that, then by grounding yourself and feeling what you feel, and then connecting in the space of your heart and learning what it feels like to be in your heart, then over time that process of affirmation can become much more natural for you. And again, it is a process of faith. So it's about exploring that. And the mind is not a process of faith. The mind is a process of control, of understanding everything and being able to control the environment. And so we invite you to step into the unknown, essentially, which is not where most of the time most people are. So let's go into
that was so well said. I love what you said, that the mind is a process of control, whereas the heart and feeling is a process of faith. That is such a beautiful and there's so much truth to that.
So languaging.
Yeah.
So how do we create affirmations, right? So the quote unquote real path or true path is just be in your heart and create from there. And then you can have some, let's say, some guidelines or some ways, to help you in that process of creation in the beginning. And that is that whatever you say, first of all, it's positive. So for instance, sometimes when I work with people, we'll start working on something and they'll say, their affirmation will be, I don't want this.
I have no more health issues, for example.
So if you know a little bit about the subconscious mind, you know that for the subconscious mind, anything, any object that you bring up, it's going to bring that energy. So if you say no this or not that, the subconscious mind, it doesn't look at it like that. It's now tuning into that which you don't want.
Like when they teach golfers the mentality on the golf course, the golfers will often think, "Oh, don't go in the water, don't go right," and they don't realize that what they're doing is they're reinforcing the neural network and
Of their fear.
of going into the water, of going into the right, because the subconscious mind, it doesn't speak no. You understand? It doesn't, when it hears no, uh, don't go in the water, it doesn't understand the don't go part. It really just understands like the water.
Yeah, it brings up the object, the fear, the thing that we don't want. So anytime if you've been in the habit in the past of saying that or creating an affirmation saying I don't want this or not this, now anytime that this comes up, reformulate it, meaning really allow yourself to ask yourself, what do I want? Right? A lot of people think about creating affirmations to avoid something, to get away, get out of pain, get away from something. Think about what you want to get closer to, what you want to experience, what you want to bring into your field.
And be conscious, be careful that the affirmation you create isn't tainted by that which you don't want. That in your affirmation feeling, that it's not a feeling of being free from something you don't want. That rather it is a feeling of experiencing that which you do want. And this is subtle. This is nuanced. Especially when it's not just in the sentence, it's in the feeling.
So if you explore, whenever something, seemingly negative comes up, and you say, well, I don't want this. And now you say, well, what do I truly want in my heart and soul? What does my heart and soul truly want? And then you connect to that. And at first it might be difficult because your mind and the survival mechanism that our energy system has, it's often conditioned to focus on what we don't want, on avoiding things, avoiding pain, avoiding fear, avoiding things that might create suffering. So it's a matter of reconditioning yourself to focus. So it's focus on what you do want, because you can't get familiar with the energy of what you want by focusing on what you don't want, right? If you're watching the movie all day long of I don't want this, and then affirming from there, it's not going to shift your energy, or it's going to be more difficult, take more time to really comprehensively shift your energy.
Yeah.
Then the second step in the language is to really look at what is believable. If you say something, that you're basically is going to trigger you immensely. So find an example of.
You want more money and you say, I'm now a trillionaire.
Well, you might never, your energy system might say, well, that's never going to happen. Your mind might say, I don't even see how that would ever be possible. And now you're in the mind just revalidating all of the lack and the limitations and the separation from that which you want. So if you start slow and little, and just like what you can kind of get behind, what you can agree with, what you can resonate with, what you can feel aligned with. And then you grow from there. I'm not saying just stay there. Just start with something that you can actually embody and that can feel good. And then as you do that, and then you may have heard of Abraham Hicks and the process of forking, then okay, keep raising the vibration, keep going to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Like, when you're in your heart and you start to affirm, as you're affirming, new things are going to come. Like if you say, for instance, I love my life, then the next thing is going to come as to all the ways in which you love your life, what you love about your life, what you love about yourself, the appreciation that you have in the present moment for your life. So be creative in that process and allow yourself, as you start with something that is acceptable, that you can, align with, to continue to raise your vibration and to come up with affirmations creatively and naturally that you resonate with, and then your energy system is going to get entrained and to basically align itself more and more with those positive experiences and constructive experiences that you want to create.
We have a nice comment. When I affirm that I feel at peace, I become so aware of the speed of my heartbeat or the tightness in my chest. That's excellent that you're aware of that. And if you bring the affirmation there into the speed of your heartbeat, into the tightness in my chest, so it's like you bring the affirmation in there and you start to say there, as if you're a little you sitting in your heart or sitting in your chest, saying and feeling inner peace and saying, I feel at peace. I feel at peace. I feel at peace. And you notice how as you keep saying it, if your intention is on the feeling, you will refine it and you will become more at peace. I feel at peace. And be at peace with your heartbeat, whatever it is. And be at peace with the tightness, however it is. And just continue to say, I feel at peace. I feel at peace. And perhaps I am at peace. I am at peace. And as you continue saying that there, what you're doing is you're dispersing the resistance that you have here, which is manifesting as a rapid heartbeat or tightness in your chest. You're dispersing it with the energy of the affirmation and your conscious mind and your intention, and most of all, of course, the feeling that you're cultivating there. I hope that helps. And I just wanted to add, before we might forget, that have you ever done, asking generally to everybody here, have you ever done a whole day where you felt your affirmation the entire day? Have you ever tried that? The whole day?
And one way to help you with that is to create an anchor. So if you've listened to our meditations, you'll find that in some of them, not all of them, we do at the end of the meditation help you learn to create an anchor. And what that is when you get into that high state, that high energy state, that higher state of consciousness, that higher vibration state, in that moment that you use a word or that you press, for instance, two fingers together, or even press something on your body, or a color, something that is now connected, associated with that state, so that you can step right back into it. And for your affirmation, you can do the same thing. You're affirming, and when you get there, at least, again, because it's a progressive process, you're on a spectrum, you're constantly going to refine and feel it more and more and more. And when you get into, let's say you have a quote unquote really good day of doing affirmation and you feel it so much in your heart, you feel that state, you feel it in a very coherent, congruent, and aligned way. In that moment, if you anchor it, if you find a way to, using the word or a place on your body where you anchor it, then during the day, you can go back to it again and again. Every time you go into unconsciousness, meaning you go into your subconscious mind and you start basically repeating old programs that are not aligned with your intention, then you remind yourself in that moment, you'll go right back to it. And then it will anchor deeper and deeper into your being.
It's a tool to help you return to your single pointed focus on that which you truly want. And this focus is not a mental focus only, it's also a physical, feeling, energy focus. And when we become distracted throughout the day, when we set the intention, I'm going to do this affirmation and feel this affirmation all day, and then we get distracted, it's because we haven't attained complete, comprehensive, single-pointed focus on that which we truly want. So that is something to cultivate. Obviously, And that's a wonderful thing to cultivate. And no one's expected to be there or be perfect at it.
So, in addition to essentially the feeling being so important in the process of affirmation, the process of what is it exactly that you said, babe? I don't know why it came and then it just went away.
What did I say just now?
Feeling it. Well, there was something I wanted to mention that I felt were the two foundational steps to really having a very powerful process of affirmation.
So single pointed focus?
Yes, that's it. So, on the one hand, the feeling and being able to get very deep into the feeling is going to bring about the most effective process of affirmation, and then the single pointed focus, really just learning that single pointed focus,
which is just maintaining the feeling.
Exactly. And it's going to take you deeper and deeper and allow you to stay in that state of consciousness of your affirmation more and more, because really the affirmation is about experiencing, creating, being, becoming familiar with a certain state of consciousness.
Thank you for your kind comments. We are so grateful to be able to be of help to you.
So, in terms of the wording, right? Dexter said, I feel or I am. So it's in the present tense. It's happening right now. If you say I will, your subconscious mind records it's not happening. So an affirmation of I will is not an affirmation that is as effective.
I want also, by the way, and
there's separation.
This is very important. If you do the affirmation from a feeling of wanting, then you're basically affirming that you don't have. So
exactly.
Wanting, all forms of wanting and desire are really manifestations of feelings of not having.
Lack, separation. And so they revalidate that you don't have it. So if it's, which is why I was saying earlier on that it's important that it's believable for you, because sometimes when we say I am or I feel, and then there's other parts of us that don't feel that or don't embody that, then it can feel kind of like just there can be so much resistance to saying it. So as you go through this process of gradually learning to affirm and feeling your affirmation, what you can say is you can say I choose or I intend. And yes, it's not being with it yet, and it's still in the direction of it. So you can say, I choose to be healthy. I choose to love my life. I choose to love myself. I intend to love my life. I intend to love myself. And over time, as you repeat that, now you're kind of you're getting in gear. You're practicing actually being in that energy more and more,
Right.
and being comfortable being in that energy, and then believing in it, that believing that it's possible.
Just being it. That's why personally I love I am. I am now receiving all of the healing. I am now healed. I am healing. I am in the most wonderful relationship with my partner.
I am loved. I am cared for. Anything that in the past you felt separate from or you felt a lack of, affirming that from the I am.
That you are that. Because when you are that, you are being that. And there's something about the I am. Let's see. I am that. Very precious spiritual book.
So learning to be that which you have not been in the past, and disidentifying from the parts of self that were not that and that were something else, and choosing in that moment to be that. And that is your choice. That is your free will choice. And you always have that choice in any moment. If you, let's say, if you felt unhealthy, if you felt not loved, not cared for, that was the past. Even something that is happening supposedly right now, the moment we talk about it, it's already the past. So right now, in the present moment, choosing and being whatever it is that you're wanting to create in your life, and affirming that. So I think we've covered the subconscious for the most part, love.
Yep, and we have one question here. What
I want to add one thing that's important.
Okay.
It's important to understand that in your process of practicing affirmation and being disciplined about it, and when I talk about discipline, I'm talking about your own discipline, not the discipline that we learn at school or from parents. It's really your own conscious discipline. They are karmic influences, and what we mean by that is the patterns, the conditioning, the things we've repeated in the past. They're going to kind of like put a stick in the wheel,
Yeah,
right?
stick in the spokes of the wheel. Like if you have a bicycle and you put a stick in the wheel, it's going to stop.
Yeah. So, for instance, like your motivation to affirm, your motivation to practice your affirmation, it's going to be influenced by the energy that you're embodying based on the past. So, being patient with yourself. It's like, those toys that you rewind. Let's say that the toy that you rewind from the past, it was saying, I'm not loved, I'm not cared for, I don't have any money, I'm unhealthy, I have all these things. And the toy is rewinding and it's, going around and it's, jumping. And then
repeating that over and over.
And then, so kind of like looking at that, watching it, and okay, the toy is going to do its thing until it's run out of fuel. The fuel is how much energy you put to it. If you stop putting energy to it, it's going to stop. And then as you're creating momentum with your affirmation, there's going to be more and more energy to be disciplined about doing the practice, to repeat your affirmation, to have a process that leads to you remembering to practice your affirmation. And just know that the toy will keep going and kind of say, oh, it's not working, I haven't gotten the money yet, I haven't gotten the relationship yet, I'm not healthy, I'm not healed. And that's okay, it's just a toy, right, from the past, just jumping around. And as you create the momentum and you put the energy with your affirmation, the toy will stop, and then the energy will now flow into the direction of what you're creating now. So your blank canvas and what you put in your blank canvas.
Thank you for such a kind comment, Glenn, and we're so grateful to be able to be of help and service to you, and that you're experiencing benefit. Yes, we will do an affirmation practice very soon. It will affect peace as a byproduct of what we're going to focus on. It's just a quick question: how to apply affirmation in case of imposter syndrome? Well, if we could say imposter syndrome is the fear, if we get a definition of it, a pattern in which an individual doubts themselves, their skills, their talents, accomplishments, and has a persistent fear of being exposed as a fraud. So fears come from energy in the system, in the body, discomfort in the body, that then ripples up into thoughts that we then experience and sometimes believe, oh, I'm an imposter or whatnot. And fears are a form of unconsciousness, a form of darkness, in a sense, not in a bad way, just in the sense that it is not conscious, it is not light. And what happens when you turn on the light in a dark room? The darkness goes away. The light literally outshines the darkness. And so wherever you feel, oh, I can't do this affirmation because, or the affirmation's not working, or whatever you feel, any form of mental resistance to the affirmation, if you can feel also where the source of that resistance in your body, and bring the affirmation there and feel it there until it is energized by your conscious intention and outshines the darkness that is there, the unconsciousness that is there, the fear that is there, so that all that's left is your single-pointed focus on the truth of your affirmation.
Yeah, and by the way, what you just mentioned, which is a common fear, like most people I've ever talked to, in one way or another, they have that fear of being a fraud or being an imposter, of basically whatever they're embodying, it's not true. They're not really, they're not being honest. it's understandable, that people can feel that. It can be triggered by many different either current life conditioning, past life karmas, fear in the collective consciousness, resonance with those fears in the collective consciousness. And if you remember my metaphor a moment ago about that little toy, just look at that as a little toy. It's definitely not what you want to feel. It's definitely not the realm of experience that you're choosing to create. And it's there, just background noise of the thing that would be the worst thing that you can imagine, the worst case scenario, and your mind is attracted to it. It's focused on it. And if you just look at it as that little toy and you stop giving it energy, and you keep, for instance, you can say, I trust myself. Right? So if you don't trust, if you feel like you're an imposter and a fraud, you're not trusting yourself, or you're doubting yourself. I trust myself, and learn that. Learn to trust yourself, to have faith in yourself.
That's how fears are learned. People learn a negative belief, a scary belief, and then it's a fear, and then it's real. It starts out as just an imagination, just a recording, and then we become so emotionally entrained in them. So you can unlearn fear and learn the new affirmation. And yes, we may see your small donation and are very grateful for it. And we saw other donations too from Honey. Thank you so much for your donations. And there was one more, if I recall, there was one more thing in here. Oh, from Tammy, will stating the I am affirmation to myself in the mirror be a good idea? Yes, absolutely. And by the way, I wasn't recommending just the I am. I was recommending adding whatever you want after that. And coincidentally, not so, the meditating on the I am thought, the I am feeling, is actually a very profound meditation, incredibly profound meditation, where you just focus on the source of the I and the I am. That's explained in the book, I Am That. So that being said, doing it in the mirror is excellent, because you get to, especially if you ask this question, you're probably visual, you get to start basically embedding the affirmation and the feeling of it into your self-image as you look at your self-image. So it's an opportunity to begin literally, especially if you're a visual person, seeing yourself as embodying your affirmation, and clearing simultaneously any parts of yourself that don't see yourself as that affirmation, and as having that, and as being that. And so as you do it in the mirror, you'll notice like different thoughts and feelings and sensations that show, in a way, your resistance to it. And as you repeat the affirmation there, you'll be clearing that resistance. You're becoming conscious of that resistance, shining the light of your consciousness on that darkness, and beginning to more fully embody that. So yes, doing it in the mirror, excellent idea. Oh, and we have a mirror, a meditation,
Self-love.
A self-love mirror meditation, which you can use as perhaps a guide for doing this on your own, in your own way.
Yeah, and I think we have also a neutral, just mirror gazing meditation, and that is really very helpful to get feedback in the mirror to what you're saying, and whether you're integrated with what you're saying, whether you're in alignment. Because any parts of you that are going to react to what you're saying, it's going to, as you become sensitive, especially if you're looking in the mirror, as you become sensitive to how your face and your whole, even your aura, is going to essentially react or respond to what you're saying, you will see anything that's not aligned. And that is a process if you don't react to that. So if things that are not aligned, and that is a really important part of also affirmation, it's not to react to what's not aligned. And I know we mentioned it before, and I want to mention it again. When you look and you realize, for instance, that there's a part that's not aligned, to accept, to be present and still and silent with that part as you continue to affirm. And that integrates the part. So it allows you to go deeper and create greater alignment in all parts of your system with what you're affirming.
I'm sorry, I see that it keeps breaking up on you. There will be a recording. Insight Timer keeps a recording of this, and you can find. It's breaking up. I see. Sorry about that. What can we do? I am now fully in my affirmation. Let's do that. Let's do the affirmation practice, maybe.
Yes.
Especially because you don't really need us to do the affirmation practice.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah. So I had chosen for this workshop, and I announced it yesterday on our YouTube channel. I had chosen to do I love my life. And the reason why I had chosen this simple affirmation is because there's so much that can be uncovered in this process of affirming I love my life about what we've imagined and associated to be our life and ways in which we've reacted to that. So someone, for instance, if you are in a relationship and there's conflict in the relationship, in those times where there's conflict in the relationship, you might feel like I don't love my life, or I hate my life in the moments of conflict. And your relationship is not your life. Your health is not your life. All these different things that we associate as being our life are not our life. And when we are limiting ourselves by imagining that those things are our life, then we can kind of like prevent or reduce the energy from, the creative energy from flowing in our system, and for us to be truly creative and open and feeling abundant and feeling fulfilled in life. So this practice will bring up these parts, and it will help you to familiarize yourself with loving your life, with what it is for you, and that's going to be unique to you, what it is for you to love your life, and to get very deep with that feeling of loving your life, with learning that, and from a place maybe to begin with of excitement, and then from a place of stillness inside, loving your life from a very, very deep place, meaning at the soul level, really understanding what it means to love your life. Not because you have this or you have that, simply choosing to love your life, because you see, when you love your life, you actually understand so many things about, Dexter and I were talking last night about that we live on a planet in the middle of space, and we magnify our problems. We look at things as, they're so big, and at the same time, when you really look at things the way that they are, we live on a planet that, in perspective of the whole universe, it's so small. And so when we realize that, then we realize how much energy there is to life. Because instead of putting our energy into our problems and magnifying our problems, we realize that there is just so much out there, and our problems are so small. They're really, not that important, not as important as we make them to be. And then we can truly get to a place where we look at the universe and we realize just how infinite and incredible the universe is. And when we get to that place of this infinite, timeless universe that we're in, then we can appreciate and love our lives fully. So, do you want to do the practice, or would you like
Please
me
lead.
to do it? Okay. So if you'll close your eyes. And begin to focus on your breath. Choosing to relax your breath. And noticing how your body responds to that choice. choosing to create space in your body, to feel the space within your body and all around your body. And to respond to that space that you feel, that you experience, that you're exploring right now. And as you notice the space of your body and the space all around your body, notice how much more calm, relaxed you become. Noticing anything that draws your attention away from this space, this stillness, this silence that you're choosing to embody in this moment in time. Going deeper and deeper into the stillness and silence by familiarizing yourself with the space of your body and the space all around your body. And returning to the space within you and all around you anytime that you start thinking about anything, just coming back to the space. From which all is created. And now from this space, if you'll bring your awareness in the back of your heart. And maybe to begin with, you'll use your mind to assess where that is, and that's okay. And allowing yourself to feel for it. The space at the back of your heart. The seat of your soul. Residing there. Exploring. Feeling whatever you feel there without trying to change it. Being in the space behind your heart. And from this space, if you'll begin to affirm, I love my life.
I love my life.
And you can continue to repeat, I love my life, and notice
I love my life.
the intonation, the pace. Notice where it's coming from too. Maybe it is coming from the back of your heart, or maybe it's coming from somewhere else. Maybe your third chakra, your mind. Maybe your second chakra. Maybe your first, maybe your fifth. Wherever it's coming from, just notice where the energy is coming from.
I love my life.
Intending and choosing for the energy to be cultivated in your heart. I love my life. Noticing how your voice might change, and noticing how your energy is in this present moment in time. What you feel, sensations, emotions, thoughts. As you continue to repeat, I love my life. Is it expanded or contracted? Is it open or closed? Is it fast or slow? Is it warm or cold? Notice it as you repeat it. Does it flow naturally, or is there resistance to saying it? I love my life. Are you projecting things about yourself and your life? Whether it's relationships or your health, your state of abundance, your state of consciousness, your thoughts, your emotions. Become aware of what you've identified yourself with as your life. I love my life. Allowing yourself to let go of anything that is not your life, of anything that is not fully alive. For that is life. I love my life. I love my life. Allowing yourself to feel what that feels like in your body. Not in your mind, not in your thoughts, simply in your body. I love my life. What does it feel like to love your life? To make that choice, that brave choice to love your life. Allowing for any thoughts, any emotions that are not aligned with this love of your life, this love of life, this aliveness to come to the surface, for you to become aware of parts of you that are not aligned with loving your life fully. You're not judging these parts, you're not judging these thoughts, these emotions, these energies from the past. You're simply acknowledging that they're there, accepting them, and returning to your focus, to your practice. I love my life, integrating these parts. Just because you have these thoughts, just because you have these emotions, just because you've had those experiences and made associations, doesn't mean you can't love your life. I love my life. And if there's a lot of resistance in your system to saying that statement, and you feel it, and you maybe are reacting to that and feeling like, no, I can't love my life unless this changes. I can't love my life because in the past this has happened and that has happened. Just notice that, and you can start by saying, I choose to love my life. And recognize the aliveness in that choice, your free will choice, regardless of anything that's happened in the past, to love your life. In the present moment, this is a choice you're making right now. Nothing that has ever happened in the past needs to influence that. I choose to love my life fully and completely. I choose to love my life. Or If there's less resistance in your system, you keep saying, I love my life. All of it. And becoming aware of the word life. What is the word life for you? My life. I love my life. And bringing love into that creative process of what your life is for you. Choosing that in the present moment. I love my life. And becoming aware, allowing yourself to become aware of all the dimensions, areas, parts that my life is made up of. I love my life.
And as you do your affirmation, allowing yourself to experiment, to feel subtle changes. If you try, I love life, and see how that feels different. I love life. As you repeat it, hearing in your voice how you become more and more aligned. I love life. I love life.
Feeling the energy from your heart center of loving life moving into your throat chakra as you express it.
I love life.
I love life. Loving any part of you that is not aligned with that, with loving life. Realizing that doing so is loving life. Loving any fear, any judgment, any belief, anything that comes up.
Loving it all.
I love life. And realizing how much energy you've liberated from the past through this process. Allowing yourself to connect to this liberated energy, this creative energy that you've applied to loving your life, loving life. And that you can do that with any process, any affirmation, anything that you choose to experience, that you choose to create, that you choose to embody. And feeling grateful for this, you can bring your hands to your heart center and anchor this experience in your heart, feeling what it feels like to the degree that you felt it, to love life, so that you can revisit this experience, this feeling, anytime you choose. And in this state of gratitude, when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Did you want to take any questions, love?
Maybe a few last questions.
So we're going to wrap up. if anyone has any questions in regards to the practice or anything that we shared today in the workshop, of course, if you enjoy the workshop, if you could donate for us, and Insight Timer would be very grateful for that. And let us know if you have questions.
Wait a little, sometimes there's a delay. So glad that it was helpful, Liz. Thank you. Thank you, Julia.
Thank you for everyone who joined us today. We hope it was helpful and that it gave you a comprehensive understanding of affirmations and how to use them. Again, I will reinforce that the most important thing is for you to really explore for yourself this process of affirmation and to see where it takes you.
Yeah, it can only be felt by you. You must feel your way into this. Thank you, T. Thank you, May. Thank you. Thank you. You said thank you to Julia. Thank you again, Julia. Can you repeat just one more time during the affirmation? You said something about without letting any past affecting the feeling. Thank you, Sally. Thank you, Geneva.
So if I understand the question well, essentially when those things from the past that are not in alignment with what you're wanting to create and the affirmation, what you're affirming, simply feeling it and not reacting to it and not being in judgment of it, accepting it fully so it can be integrated. That is the process of integration. The easiest way to integrate is when we have a part that comes up that's not aligned, noticing it, acknowledging it, accepting it, loving it into integration.
Oh, Jay says, it was just a brief phrase. I'm sorry, I just wanted to hear the statement one more time. During the affirmation, we said something about... you'll be able to find it in the recording. We don't remember precisely what we said. During the affirmation, we said something about without letting any past affecting the feeling. But there is a key understanding there, is that whenever you think of anything, any distraction that comes to your mind while you're doing it,
past.
Any pain from the past, anything really.
It's the past.
It's the past, yeah.
Only the affirmation is the present moment. It's the choice that you're making in the present moment to be single, one-pointed, focused on only that experience. So anything else that comes up, it comes from the past.
Yeah, and T, will you please repeat how to rephrase what we don't have without using I will or I need? I think you rephrased it to I choose or I am.
Intend.
Or I am or I feel.
Yeah. If it's what you don't want, you just say I am or I feel. And if you're not there yet and you're gradually progressing towards embodying that energy in a way that is believable and integratable, that you feel comfortable with it, basically. Again, if someone is sick and they say I am healthy, they might really not enjoy that process. They might have 1% of them that feels healthy and 99% of them that don't feel healthy because they have recordings of the illness. So I choose to be healthy. I choose to feel healthy. I intend to be healthy. I intend to feel healthy. And then as you do that, you will start to have, let's say instead of 1%, you will have maybe 10% of you that start to feel healthy. And then it'll be easier for you to say, I am healthy, even if it's just in 10% of yourself. And then the rest, the 90% will start to merge with that. And over time, then the state of wholeness and health can be what is embodied and therefore what is experienced.
Thank you for your kind comments, Jay. And Glenn, thank you also. Yes, acceptance to the resistant parts is so important, and sometimes as a point of tension. And when that comes smoothly, that's really wonderful, and naturally. We're so glad that you experienced that. There was another good question, love, from Mary. What of stating what your felt desire is, and then just letting it go to the universe? Of course, stating your desire to the universe, to God, to whatever you worship, if you worship any, perhaps it is the universe, is wonderful. And prayer is wonderful. And if you state the desire and then you go back to your life and you're then back in a state of being that is not resonant with what you truly want, then that might not lead to the result that you want, because you might be practicing in that time.
You mean surrendering to the universe? Is that what is meant by that?
You mean the question?
Yeah.
So the question, my love, is what if you just state the desire, like, or the affirmation,
and let it be,
and just let it go to the universe, as opposed to doing the work of consistently feeling with the affirmation and what you want. And so the issue with that is that the affirmation is a tool. It's not like, oh, if I repeat this over and over, and if I feel this again, then this will happen. It's not like a control strategy. It is a tool that facilitates you clearing and releasing and first becoming aware of resistance in your system to that which you want. Then, please, love.
And it's a process of realizing that you are all creative, meaning that as you realize that you can embody all these states, you're not attached to having those experiences. The affirmations are like a gradual process of realizing our quote-unquote power, not as egoic power, just that we are microcosmos of the macrocosmos. And so all the things that exist in the universe, we can embody them and experience them. For instance, in Buddhist meditation, they'll meditate on gratitude or love. Very similar to what we taught you today. They focus on just one thing, and all the energy goes, to understanding and becoming familiar with that. So to add to that question, yes, you can let it go. And like Dexter was saying, surrendering that, maybe then you'll experience it in this lifetime when all parts of you are aligned with it, or maybe not. Maybe in another lifetime, if you believe in, multiple lifetimes, maybe in 10, 20 lifetimes, that's something that you'll become congruent with and integrated with, and then you can have that experience. So yes, it can be good to surrender, to the universe, our intentions. And it's also useful to understand that, as beings that operate from our subconscious 95% of the time, we might have many different parts that are doing many different things that are not aligned at all with that intention. So if you're not attached to it and you surrender, then it's, ultimately to really experience something, whatever it is that we want to create through the process of affirmation, not being attached and not being averse is very important. So that can be a way of practicing non-duality and being okay with whatever happens.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your
everyone
love,
for
kindness,
joining
and participation,
us.
and great questions. And we wish you the very, very best. That we're all receiving the very, very best, what is in our highest and best good now. And by the way, if all of humanity were to resonate with inner peace and do the affirmation and feel, I am inner peace and love and understanding of all beings. Imagine if all of humanity were to resonate with that, what we could accomplish. And also, when you do affirmations, allow yourself to look for guidance from either the universe or spirit or beings, or allow yourself to look to see if, as you do your affirmation, you receive help.
Yeah, and when you're in your heart, when you're doing the affirmation, this will happen naturally, meaning that you will be receiving some of the things that basically come from your heart center into your throat chakra, they will be informed by spirit. They will be informed by enlightened beings and that are helping you. And when you connect at the level of your heart, you're connecting to them, and they're helping you become conscious and aware of things that are supportive of your process of evolution.
And yes, well said, T. The change starts with one and self, and yeah, we are a distributed network, and each of us is a node in that network. So if every node is at peace, then we have peace in the network of society. If every node is about being opportunistic and helping and loving, then we have a network of love. So it is about one at a time. And Mary, that's very insightful that you realize that your head blocks the way. Yeah, the head and the thoughts, the mind, they're not going to want to do affirmations. They're going to want to think about whatever they tend to think about. So yeah, the mind tends to block the way.
Yeah, and the mind is focused on safety and survival. So the mind is not really supportive of a process of creation and openness and going into the world in a state of expansion.
Because the mind is a record of the past, not a map to the future. In a way, it's a map back to the old, to the same. And the heart, you could say, is in a sense a guide into the future.
And it's also basically a way to access your soul's energy. And from your soul's energy, you're informed as to what is going to be in your highest and best good.
Look, T, with another great question. Thank you for reminding us. In 2 weeks, we have another workshop called What It Means to Be Conscious. And consciousness is a fascinating topic and also liberating, and actually in its purest form, consciousness is something that most people think they want and don't because it can be so radically different. We're going to teach what it means to be more conscious and also what it means to be completely conscious as best as we can. And what we want to share is that
in a practical and grounded way that is really useful in life.
Yes, because all suffering, all pain, all fear, all conflict stems from ego, which is in essence unconsciousness. And what it means to be conscious, it means to actually begin to deconstruct ego so that we experience less pain, less suffering, less conflict, and more alignment with the present moment and love. And so becoming more conscious is a process of that. It's a process of complete self-healing. It's a process of being able to clearly see what is without, our bias and without our past affecting us and without our fears and beliefs. And it's a process of being able to actually fully experience inner peace and stillness and silence. And the doorway that inner peace and stillness and silence is, because when you get there, it opens a door. There's a door there, and when you go through it, there's things that are not possible to describe on the other side. And so that's what we're going to talk about, what it means to be conscious, how you can become more conscious in your life, where to begin, and what it means and what it looks like, and how to know if you're going really in the right direction in that regard, or when perhaps you're going in a different direction. So maybe we'll see you in 2 weeks.
Thank you again for joining us, and thank you for all your kind comments and all of the love and your intention to be here today on this workshop.
Yes, and thank you, Glenn, thank you, Cheryl. Feel free to send us a message. Thank you all. Thank you, Juan.